The European Superstock 1000cc grid formed here at Silverstone under a surprisingly cloudy sky, but a beautiful warm day and some great racing in prospect. And it's the guy who's dominating the Italian championship, Danilo Petrucci, who's put his Ducati on pole position. He makes a habit of doing this, but unfortunately doesn't always produce the results as a result. So he's actually 46 points behind the man he's beaten to pole position, Davide Giuliano. Giuliano in second position. All these guys, of course, it's a very Ducati-dominated front row with Petrucci, Giuliano and former champion Niccolò Canepa on Ducatis, and then Zanetti on BMW on the outside of the front row. It's interesting, they were talking about the young men from the UK, our guests, just before you came to us, and there are some really good kids. This has largely not really attracted the teeny boppers, this series, in past years. It certainly is doing this year. Qualifying in sixth place, a guy who's challenging in the Italian CIV Superstock Championship, the 19-year-old Argentinian who rides bike number 36, Leandro Denis Mercado. He is riding for Pedercini Kawasaki. He is the leading Kawasaki on the grid. And then on the third row of the grid, there's the 18-year-old former 125 GP star. 3 years he spent in 125 GPs. Lorenzo Savadori riding number 6 for Lorenzini by Leone, who used to run Yamahas, of course. And then behind him, you've got the relatively old boy, Sheridan Marias on Kawasaki. And also Danny Buchan, 18 years old, just riding for the Go 11 Kawasaki squad, making no excuses about that broken collarbone. Danny doesn't even mention it. It's not like it's a thing that he's making any big deal of at all. And he is in 15th place. And he's also, incidentally, imported his own K-Tech suspension from his UK Superstock Series bike, because he was struggling on Friday with the suspension on the Italian team's bike, and I think that's helped him no end. It certainly got him ahead of Keith Farmer, although Keith Farmer, what Keith did yesterday during qualifying, James, was he flipped that Kawasaki good and proper. Went down at the same spot that claimed Max Biaggi during Superpole 1, but unfortunately, unlike Biaggi's Aprilia, the bike picked itself up and flipped, and it absolutely wrecked itself. So the Paul Bird Motorsport team have had a huge night's work sorting that Kawasaki out for Farmer.
Yeah, the thing about Keith Farmer for me is that he doesn't ride this 1000cc class normally. He's a 600 Superstock man, and he hasn't done much of that anyway. He's done virtually no road racing as far as tarmac racing. He's done some Supermoto, very good at that, but it's very different to what he's doing now, and he's never been on the 1000 before this meeting, except for a small test at Cadwell Park. He pinned it again, I think.
He did. He pinged it at the foot of the mountain. He said it was. He had it backed off, thinking it would just flick in like he did with the 600. Instead, it flicked him off, punched a hole in his little finger, but he's in typical Irish fashion quite cheerful about that, not feeling it's any problem. And I think he might just show up from 17th place on the grid.
I think,
and don't forget, he's ahead of the third Pedercini Kawasaki bike. The Australian champion Brian Starring is in 20th place.
Yeah, I've got to say, watch for 303 Keith Farmer and 83 Danny Buchan punching above the weight here.
And also remember the Garnier racing team BMW of Markus Reiterberger, the new German hope, number 21. There he is, almost middle of picture. He's qualified in 9th place, having never been here before, just 17 years old, that fella. So we got Petrucci number 9, Giuliano 34, Canepa 59, a trio of Ducatis at the front for different teams, of course, all of them for different teams. The man on pole position, the man leading the Italian championship for Barney Racing Team is Danilo Petrucci, his 4th pole in succession in the European Championship. Alongside him, the clear leader in the championship, Giuliano. 10 laps, Superstock 1000cc FIM Cup.
Lights on.
They're holding him
They did.
And a good start. Giuliano rockets off and opens up an enormous 5 or 6 length gap, just hitting the first turn. Now he's closed up as they go swooping. Now, of course, this is the new first turn as they wick it to the right through Abbey and then to the left through Farm.
Now the slow section.
This is the slow section that has been catching a few boys out this whole weekend. Village and then into the loop. And then from the loop, opening it out faster and faster, flicking left and on to the Wellington Straight on the long charge down to Brooklands.
Trying to get an idea where the bricks are, Farmer and Buchan.
Well, you've just got the Kawasaki green is usually what we're looking for.
Yeah, there's lots of them, though, Jim.
There are lots of them, you're right. And 3 of them are Pedercini bikes. Talk about overstretching themselves. And there's Danny Buchan as 9th place for Danny Buchan, ahead of Lorenzo Savadori. There's those 2 guys running in 9th and 10th places on Kawasaki's. Combined age of 36, which is appreciably less than World Superbike leader Carlos Checa.
Over the old start and finish.
Number 34, Giuliano. Number 20, Sylvain Barrier, just getting eased out of 2nd place there. He, of course, finally scored his maiden victory at Brno at the last round for BMW. And as they charge through into this long, beautiful, old-fashioned complex where they go through Maggots and then Beckett's and Chapel, it's just one complete series of swerves after another. And it's the BMW's running hard behind the leading Ducati of Giuliano. Zanetti it is who's burst through to 2nd. Barrier, Canepa, Petrucci, Mercado, Baroni and Buchan in 8th place, James.
Yeah, good run from Buchan. And I expected this, you know, he's really aggressive, doesn't crash that much, but he's so aggressive, he's Buchan. Lad's 18 and he doesn't know that he shouldn't really be doing this.
Especially having just snapped. His collarbone is actually still cleanly broken, but he's saying it's not giving him any problems.
He's not bothered. He wasn't bothered 2 days afterwards.
So Buchan looking strong. He is the leading Kawasaki out on track at the moment. Brian Starring down in 15th place with the last championship point to his credit at the moment. So it's Giuliano, Zanetti, Barrier, Petrucci, Canepa 5th ahead of Mercado. I beg your pardon, Mercado the leading Kawasaki. He's in 6th place. Baroni, Reiterberger, Savadori squeezed past Buchan as they came round the final turn. And Buchan has pushed back to 10th ahead of Lamara and the guy who scored a maiden victory in this year's Italian Championship at Mugello last weekend, Andrea Antonelli.
Yeah, and this is a circuit where before we came here, people didn't think it was going to suit Ducatis, and there you go, first 3 on the grid in Superstock, and that's a good indication. Now these bikes, in a lot of ways, quite similar to Superbikes. Obviously, these are the bikes that the Superbikes are actually based on, and they're not much heavier, not much less powerful either. These things are certainly the BMs are top side of 200 brake horse in this Superstock form, quite incredible.
And I tell you what, at the moment, Lorenzo Zanetti, he's really pressing on at the moment. He did wildcard. Zanetti takes the lead. Zanetti just pops the BMW through to the front.
Yeah, and that was on power. That was on speed down the old start and finish straight there.
Which could explain why he won as a wildcard, virtually won the Italian Superbike Championship round at Monza, the Italian Superstock Championship round at Monza, because he's certainly got the ponies on that BMW.
Yeah, faster bike. Normally wins round Monza.
Right behind him now then is the Altea racing bike of championship leader Davide Giuliano, bike number 34. 21-year-old Giuliano from Rome. And then look at that number 9 of Petrucci looking to try and find a way out of the slipstream at the end as they go into stall. So we've got a BMW and 2 thundering Ducatis at the moment in the first 3 places, with Nico Canepa, number 59, just squeezing there underneath, hanging on to that 4th place, and then the long loop round into the final club corner, and then the finishing line comes up surprisingly quickly as you come out of that final turn.
And just look, you know, a lot of these corners are quite ripply. A lot of the car racing that goes on here tends to just ripple the circuit a little bit, and in the braking zone particularly you get these ripples. Just look at the Ducatis, both 2nd and 3rd place men on Ducatis. They're just so much more stable than the BM in front. They can run just quick as people. And that wasn't a mistake. It was a little bit of a mistake by Zanetti, but you can see that the Ducatis are so much more stable and therefore able to just run higher corner speeds.
So at the moment we've got not exactly an Italian whitewash, but we have got Zanetti, Giuliano, Petrucci and Canepa running at the front, and then Sylvain Barrier of France there in 5th place for BMW Motorrad Italia. There's the leading green Kawasaki of Mercado, just ahead of number 21 Marcus Reiterberger, of course, for the Garnier Alpha Racing Team BMW squad. And then Savadori Kawasaki is 9th. Antonelli's Honda has eased Danny Buchan out of the top 10. He's now in 11th place. Sheridan Marias, the tiny little former South African Superbike champion, he's now 14th, ahead of his teammate Brian Starring.
Yeah, Sheridan Marias is going quick though, a good second.
There he is, number 32.
Yeah, he's going about a second quicker than most of the riders around him. He was without traffic anyway.
They're staring, and right behind him, one of the Italian Superstock regulars, Marco Busolotti, on the two Kawasaki's. The problem for the Pedercini squad is really resources, James. They've got 5 bikes, including their two full-on superbikes.
Yep.
They've got 1 suspension technician amongst those 5.
Yep.
Brewer Starring went out, thought he'd ruined his gearbox during the first qualifying session. When he came in to find out what was amiss, as we watched Petrucci try and sneak through rather gingerly, though, at Stowe Corner, when he came in, he found it was a clean, worn rear sprocket, and the chain was jumping over.
Yeah, I mean, that's... I can't say really what I think, because that is not brilliant mechanicking.
It's stretching resources.
No, it doesn't just happen. Even with these bikes with 200 brake horsepower, it doesn't just happen. It kind of develops. You know, it's got to be warm to strip the teeth off anyway, so they should have known that.
So you can imagine that Brian, when you talk to Brian, he's not exactly booming with confidence, you might fairly say, at the moment.
You can see how that had happened.
The man at the front then is Davide Giuliano. Whoa, for a moment. Oh.
Yeah, big lunge that.
Giuliano leads. Oh dear, Zanetti's making all sorts of moves that aren't quite working for him here on the BMW. We've lost one of the Kawasaki's. It's Lorenzo Savadori. So the 18-year-old Savadori has gone down. Oh wow, what was that?
Yeah, that was, he got in a little bit wide, a little bit fast, hit the bumps, kind of slid off the side of the bike, lost the front and went down.
That was a weird one, James. It almost looked like an 18-year-old's crash. I mean, a lad who's done 3 years at 125 GPs and obviously is getting acclimatised to a rather bigger machine.
A classic case of forgetting to stop leaning. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. I'm making light of it. I shouldn't be doing it.
Giuliano, Zanetti, Petrucci, Canepa at the front. 3 of the 4 of them on Ducatis, and then Sylvain Barrier's BMW, and then Lorenzo Baroni on another. Oh, and that was that Barrier?
I think it was.
The bike completely took control of him and almost pitched him over the front. Oh, and after winning at Brno, to the joy of the team, it looks like Barrier somehow he's been ejected almost like going off a horse. So Sylvain Barrier, the Brno winner, has gone. And they're reduced by 1 BMW, and now we have that Lorenzo. We have Zanetti's BMW, absolutely the filling in a Ducati sandwich, plumb there in the middle, as once again Petrucci makes these late lurid charges.
Here we go. That's big. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
The back of the back went first.
He did, yeah. Classic eyesight was that, I've got to say, and they always hurt.
So Sylvain Barrier, the Frenchman, thumps himself into the deck. That was probably not the way that he was hoping to celebrate his 32nd European Superstock Championship race. Davide Giuliano, it's his 35th race. He's the second most experienced rider on the track, 1 race behind Andrea Antonelli, who's down in 9th place. And once again we see Zanetti, this time threatening Petrucci for second. Zanetti, of course, second in the championship. Oh dear.
Keeps trying.
He does. Zanetti 31 points behind Giuliano, could do with towing some points back, but Giuliano's looked, he seems to have the racecraft to dominate these events.
He does, and that's what he has got, yeah. Sometimes not that much more speed, but he has got the racecraft. And he doesn't seem to make that many mistakes, and a lot of these lads do. The place where Barrier crashed there, turn 9, that's the old turn 1 at Copse, and we've seen a bit of action there this weekend.
That is therefore pretty much what happened to Tom Sykes. It was a high side that chipped his ankle bone and split his helmet. It was so hard was the landing.
But a lot earlier in the corner.
Yes.
Quite early in the corner. Barrier went down quite late in the corner. So, but same crash. And it's fast there.
It is. They've checked the gear in the garage, and Tom was on 125 miles per hour when it decided to let go.
You really don't want to be doing that.
No. This is across the old start and finish line. We're watching number 47, Eddie Lamara, and he is being challenged by Sheridan Marias, has moved through to 10th place. Real progress. He's ahead of Jeremy Giannone, the reigning 600 Superstock champion on Yamaha, and Petrucci is now somehow right back on the back wheel of Giuliano. Petrucci's got, he's a a mercurial character. He just gets really quick in places and then just closes a gap. Once again, has a look under at Stowe. This time he does sit Giuliano up as he hits the bumps into the fast right-hander. Can he hold it on? Can he hold his line?
He can. And that is a corner where it drops away coming out and you struggle to stay on the track. It's really easy to run over the curbs there.
Through Vale now into the club chicane and the final right-hander. This is where Glenn Richards, former Supersport and Superstock national champion, the Australian, has gone out to watch there. He says that's his favourite spot for watching. He's been all around the track during the course of the weekend.
On his bicycle.
They thunder across the line. I wonder how he got so far. Half distance, 5 laps in. And, Randy Pago, teammate of Marcus Reiterberger, currently running 7th, has out in the pits.
You just get the impression number 9 Petrucci's trying so hard. His foot slipped off the pits there. He just looks to be pushing a lot harder than Giuliano. Nothing wrong with that if it works.
But see how much he was struggling for grip then as they went through the fast right-hander onto the Wellington Straight. Giuliano looking rock solid behind him. Did he get a better drive onto the Wellington Straight to make a move onto the left-hander?
Yep. And it just looks ever so much more settled and controlled and calculated when Giuliano makes a pass.
And instantly Petrucci tries to respond.
Has a nibble back, yep.
That's a nibble.
I'll have a little bit of a nibble.
So right now we've got the front 5 Italians because the man in 5th place now, number 14, Lorenzo Baroni from Ravenna on the 2nd of the Altea Racing Ducatis. Here's Petrucci again, quick on the old straightaway into Copse.
What he does, he's just that last corner, Woodcut, he's really quick out of there, and that's what catapults him along that straight and allows him to get underneath into Copse.
And then this fabulous sequence here through Maggots.
You know the big problem there, Jack, when you're going through these series of turns, this is it, and he did all the work at Woodcut, to be honest. The difficulty with those set of bends that Maggots, Beckett's Chapel is the fact you're going so quick, the bike actually doesn't want to turn over. You've got to be so accurate and so forceful to get it to move.
And as they come down, there'll be a hanger straight, the fastest part of the track. Giuliano once again. Petrucci hangs on round the outside.
Yeah, lots of faith in his abilities. I've got to say. Yeah.
We'll probably find these fellas have been racing against one another since they were about 6.
Yeah.
So number 9, Petrucci, 20-year-old from Turney, against number 34, Giuliano, the 21-year-old from Rome.
I'm thinking you wouldn't want to be 6 inches on the outside of a mad Italian and running 20 mile an hour bend, but then again, they're both mad Italians.
It evens itself out. Waiting for Mercado, crosses the line now, just ahead of Mighty and Ternapel has gone out.
That's proper stopped as well. Hopefully
as Petrucci retakes the advantage.
Yeah.
Reiterberger in 7th behind Mercado. Antonelli is 8th. 9th now for Sheridan Moraes. He's got the better of Eddie Lamara and Jeremy Giannoni and Marco Busalotti, with Starring in 13th place, ahead of Buchan 14th.
You know, Ternapel's Honda there, it had blown, something was coming out the bottom. That looked like oil to me, because there's lots of...
Yes.
I was just going to say, they're going to have to be really careful, because chances are there's going to be some on the track.
James Whittam, ladies and gentlemen, will be taking appointments if you want to have your future told.
I've just been bitten on the backside that many times by not actually thinking. I've seen somebody blow up in front of me and thought, the next thing, you're in casualty.
Keith, that's it.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff coming out. Look, you can see whatever it is. These bikes all have built into the bottom of the fairing catch tanks that should catch the amount of oil that the engine holds and the amount of fluid, any kind of clutch fluid and coolant. But sometimes it comes out that quick, it does miss the catch tank.
So that was Roy Ternapel of the Netherlands on the Domburg Racing CBR 1000, racing no longer. I just wanted to mention number 3, Keith Farmer has edged himself onto our timing screen, 17th now, ahead of Ferruccio Lamborghini, nephew of the famous car manufacturers. Dear me, there's surely paint being exchanged by these two guys. What a move!
That's brilliant.
Dear me, so it's everything. I tell you what, if these two are like this coming into this final complex on their final lap, which isn't too far away, then it's going to get very entertaining. Well, Sparks might fly.
It is an indication of just how much both want to win this race. And I've got to say, you know, when you're racing with people like this, there is people you can sit on the outside of, you know they're not going to make a mistake, you really trust them, but this just seems to have a bit of an edge to it. This is like they're showing each other that they're not scared, do you know what I mean? That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, Giuliano. Here again comes Petrucci. He's not afraid of just parking up almost right alongside his rival Ducati rider, but against Giuliano, quick.
There's something happened between these two, you know.
You reckon that there's history?
I think there is. They're certainly having a go at each other.
You know, Danilo Petrucci, number 9, he's never been averse to a bit of close racing. He was one of the 4 guys. Remember in 2009 when Gino Rea took the closest ever European 600 Superstock title at Portimao, there were 4 of them in the hunt for the title going into the last round. And number 9, Danilo Petrucci, was one of them. It was Bucelotti, Rea, Lombois and Petrucci. And it was pretty hairy that day as well. It was right down to the last lap. But again, Petrucci looking a bit lively as he comes through Woodcut, but this time he hasn't got the speed to gobble up Giuliano into Copse.
No, he got the speed to catch back up the time he'd lost, though.
The BMW team keeping an eye on their man, who's just been dropped a bit now in 3rd place, Lorenzo Zanetti. Zanetti riding for the Motorrad Italia Superstock team. Incidentally, just checking out, the lap record's been well and truly bust by Petrucci on lap 2 with a 2 minutes 8.796. The previous lap record 2 minutes 9.433 by Ayrton Badavini, winning here last year.
Here you go again, and that's fast in there as well.
Yeah, the actual kind of mid corners about for the where's Petrucci?
Yep, you go from lots and lots of fast stuff to really slow stuff. That last little section there is just. Here we go. Oh, oops. Oh.
That was somehow Giuliano picked it up and got some drive just in that short burst into the loop there from the village.
You've got to say that Giuliano looks the most settled and competent.
Yes, he's tended to look this way pretty much throughout the series. Davide Giuliano won that opening round at Assen, 2nd at Monza behind Zanetti, 1 at Misano, 1 again at Motorland Aragon, and then 2nd at Brno behind only just behind Sylvain Barrier.
Tell you what, Giuliano, there's a proper throttle jockey. There was no kind of feeding it on mid-corner, it just hit it wide open there.
Still in 17th place is Keith Farmer, ahead of Ferruccio Lamborghini, now riding.
No, I thought I heard scraping. Is
that Giuliano?
Yeah.
Giuliano, the championship leader, has gone down. You said he was taking no prisoners with his throttle action, James, and it's bitten him.
I think that might have been front end. I think. Let's have a look. Yeah,
it was.
I thought it was. Yeah, just because of the place where they're at. You wouldn't have had that, would you? You'd have had the other man falling off.
So suddenly, Petrucci on the Barney Racing Team bike. Remember, he's currently 3rd in the championship. Petrucci 46 points behind the leader. Well, he could cut that down to a mere 21 if he takes this victory. In fact, Lorenzo Zanetti, he'll go to, if he can hold on to that 2nd place, which is now under threat from Nico Canepa, then he could actually close right up on Giuliano at the top of the championship tables. That one mistake could blow this title wide open, James.
That's how it goes.
Because we've got Nürburgring, Imola, Magny-Cours and Portimao to come. But as they come down, Nicolo Canepa looking for a possible. I don't think he's going to slipstream that BMW down there somehow and get past.
It's a weird thing, but Petrucci would have seen that, would have seen his big rival slide off in front of him. He knows he's not there, it's a front end, you know he's going to get up. And you wouldn't be, you can't help it. It's one of them racing things, it's like being a kid again.
Yeah, but with dashing Danilo, you're not sure he's going to back it off.
No, that's true.
And he'll just keep on going till everything blows up. Now then, as he crosses off the line, final lap then for Danilo Petrucci. Currently despite a couple of falls, dominating the Italian CIV Superstock Championship. Behind him, the battle is between Zanetti and Canepa for 2nd place. Baroni is 4th. Mercado for Argentina having and a big mistake by Zanetti. Throws down a leg. There's nothing he can do about it. It's a super motard round there, and he drops back to 3rd place. Reiterberger, we've got 19-year-olds and 17-year-old 5th and 6th, Antonelli in 7th, Marias is now 8th ahead of Lamara and Marco Busalotti. Brian Starring is 12th, and Danny Buchan in 14th place, with Farmer now up to 16th and not that far behind Luciana in 15th place. Keith Farmer could yet sneak a point for the Paul Bird Kawasaki team.
He'll be lucky. 1 lap to go and half a second quicker, but 2 seconds behind.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'd forgotten we were on the last lap. Motley crew.
It looked like just a bunch of mates, didn't it?
There's a couple of points here around the track, James. There was an official warning released by the organisers yesterday, warning riders not to go over the curb at 2 points, and one of them is the exit to Chapel going on to Hanger Straight,
and they're all using it,
and the other one is the last turn. Now, going through here, when Leon Haslam took me on that extremely educational scooter ride on Friday evening, it was one of the points where he said he really was using a lot of curb, and the only thing on the other side of the curb, watch here, is tarmac.
Yeah.
So it's so tempting just to use it over and use the tarmac. And that was a warning issued, was don't do that, you'll get a ride through.
There's a big bump though between the painted flat curb and the tarmac. There's a big lump of kind of concrete, so you've got to make your mind up which side you're going. Here we go.
Here's Zanetti moving for that second place.
Went in quick there.
It's worked.
Yeah.
So it could go down to the last corner for second place. A clear winner surely is going to be the hard-working, hard-riding Danilo Petrucci. Here's Canepa, former champion, sneaking inside Zanetti as they drop into the club chicane. And Zanetti now, will he look for the block pass up the inside? He will. Zanetti on the BMW. Petrucci wins it. Zanetti goes wide. Can he get the power down soon enough? Canepa pulls away from him. Canepa, I think, no, Zanetti gets it. And they've given the same time.
Yep, same time. They've given exactly the same race time, Jack.
Behind them, Baroni crosses the line in 4th. Mercado for Argentina 5th. Reiterberger of Germany is 6th. And then Antonelli, Sheridan Mariah, South Africa in 8th place ahead of Eddie Lamara and Frenchman Giannoni. Busalotti 11th. Brian Starring of Australia is 12th ahead of Masai. Danny Buchan gets 2 points for 14th place. Broken collarbone or not, they've been brought back into being by the Italian Federation. It's their centenary year.
Yeah.
So Petrucci wins it from Zanetti and Canepa. Baroni goes 4th ahead of Leandro Mercado. And then Marcus Reiterberger, strong ride. That should bring a bit of a glimmer of a smile to Michel Garnier's face ahead of Antonelli. Sheridan Marias, who was quick throughout after a poor start. Lamara and Giannoni. Then Marco Busalotti takes 11th ahead of Brian Starring. Masai, Danny Buchan, Luciana and Keith Farmer just misses out on the points in 16th place on his debut on a 1000cc motorcycle ahead of Lamborghini and Verdine in their racing efforts and their racing teams. So Giuliano, this is how the gap has shrunk. 115, 104, 94. You can safely say those 3 riders are now in with a shot at this championship. Sylvain Barrier crashed out. Unfortunately, he remains 4th ahead of Canepa Baroni. 10th place for Brian Starring. Sheridan Marias moves up to 14th ahead of Lorenzo Savadori, who crashed out of that one. Mercado improves to 17th in the title. So the FIM Superstock 1000cc championship, Ducati lead the way only just though by 18 points over BMW in the manufacturer's standings, with Kawasaki wildly represented in this class in 3rd place.